A very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are back yet with another session on management accounting insights, issues in NPA management. And that shall be deliberated by a towering personality of this profession, past president, my elder brother, C.M.R.G. Chopra. And for the opening remarks and keynote address, we have one of the greatest strategists of all time, C.S. Sanjeev Maheshwari, who adores the board of State Bank of India. I have with me Mr. Deepak Bansal, the chairman of Kurukshetra branch, Mr. Gaurav Gupta, the secretary of Kurukshetra branch, and Madam Ridhima Shukla, who also is a chartered accountant, to moderate this entire program. I welcome you all to this great, exciting program and hope that you shall all go home more enlightened and putting at rest all your doubts that may have arisen during your course of professional attributes. So now I hand over the dais to Madam Ridhima Shukla for further proceedings. Ridhima, the dais is all yours now.
Thank you so much, sir. A very good evening to all the members and faculties of the Institute, the viewers who are us live at YouTube. I hope you all are well and healthy and keeping everyone around motivated and in high spirits. I think better times will come soon. I really thanks ICI for enabling virtual meeting platform for our learnings and development. Today we are having VCM on Management Insights, Issues in NPA Management, organized by CME and hosted by Kurukshetra branch of NIRC of ICAI. I request and would like to invite CA Deepak Bansal, Chairman of Kurukshetra branch of NIRC of ICAI, to give welcome address and introduce CA Charanjot Singh Nandaji, Chairman of Committee on Management Accounting. Over to you, sir.
Good evening to all. It's my pleasure to welcome to all in seminar on Management Accounting Insight Issue in NPA Management on behalf of Kurukshetra branch of NIRC. I glad to welcome Honorable CA अमरजीत चोपड़ा जी, पास्ट प्रेसिडेंट. दो शब्द और कहना चाहूँगा. चोपड़ा जी, आप हमारे मार्गदर्शक हैं और आशा करता हूँ कि आपका आशीर्वाद हमेशा हमारे ऊपर रहे. नाउ आई वेलकम CA संजीव महेश्वरी जी, डायरेक्टर स्टेट बैंक ऑफ इंडिया. CA अमरजीत नंदा जी, CA Charanjot Singh Nanda ji, Chairman Committee on Management Accounting, and all respected participants. Now, I like to introduce CA Charanjit Nanda ji. Shri Nanda ji became member of Institute in 1991. He was member of NIRC from 1998 to 2003. He was chairman of NIRC in 2002 to 2003, and thereafter he became Central Council member. He was Central Council member during 2004 to 2016, and from 2019 till continue. During this period, his career was excellent. During 1998 to till today, he served our profession regularly. During this period, he joined number of ICI. Now he is holding position as chairman of Internal Audit Standard Board of ICI, chairman of Committee on Management Accounting of ICI, vice chairman of Continuing Professional Education Committee of ICI. He is also member on board of 26 committees of ICI. In nutshell, he served our profession and doing work for members from 1998 to till today. He devoted his life to serve the profession, nation, and members. I wish he serve our profession continuously in future. दो शब्द इसमें नंदा जी के और कहना चाहूँगा कि आप चेयरमैन हैं बहुत कमेटियों में, वाइस चेयरमैन है, चेयरमैन है, पर अब हमारे दिलों के भी चेयरमैन हैं. और आप सबसे बड़ी बात, आपसे प्यार एक इसलिए भी है, आप हमारे यहीं से हो. अब कुरुक्षेत्र यमुनानगर कोई दूर नहीं, हमारे नज़दीक, हमारे घर से हो. और उम्मीद रखूंगा कि अब जल्दी जल्दी मिलना होगा आपसे. ये कोविड की वजह से मिलना जुलना कम हो गया है, तो जल्दी हम रूबरू होंगे और आपसे मिलना होगा. Once again, I thanks to all participants on behalf of Kurukshetra branch of NIRC. Now, over to Riddhim.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Now, I would like to invite CA Charanjot Singh Nanda ji, Chairman of Committee on Management Accounting, to give keynote address.
Thank you, Ridhima. A proud privilege to speak amongst two of my former council colleagues, my elder brother Namanjit Chopra and Mr. Sanjeev Maheshwari, with whom I have spent 9 long years in the council. I have seen both of them work and contribute for the cause of this profession. And to put things in the right perspective, this council, this profession will work only when we have people who are dedicatedly involved in upliftment of this profession. I am thankful to Shri Deepak Bansal, the chairman of Kurukshetra branch, Mr. Gaurav Gupta, the secretary, Madam Ridhima Shukla, Surinder Palji and Gyanji from the committee, and all people who have always supported us by coming in large numbers and understanding the complex topics which we are trying to deliberate. This period has been very challenging period, and we as chartered accountants have to ensure that the entire economy is supported by our initiatives. I am reminded of a couplet which says, मुझमें और किस्मत में हर बार यही जंग, मैं उसके फैसलों से तंग, वो मेरे हौसलों से दंग. I will give the English version of it. The English version says that there is always a conflict between me and my luck. I am disturbed by its decisions, and the luck is always astonished by my courage. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have to be courageous to work. And today's topic, Management Accounting Insights, issue in NPA management, is a very contemporary topic which speaks largely about how the menace of NPAs can be contained. Now, what are non-performing assets? An asset, including a leased asset, becomes a non-performing when it ceases to generate income for the bank or the lending agency. Hence, in simple words, a non-performing asset is a loan or an advance where, number one, interest and or installment of principal remains overdue for a period of more than 90 days in respect of a term loan, or the account remains out of order in respect of an overdraft / cash credit, or the bill remains overdue for a period of more than 90 days in the case of bills purchased and discounted, or the installment of principal or interest thereon remains overdue for 2 crop seasons for short duration crops and for 1 season for long duration crops. In respect of derivative transactions, the overdue receivables representing positive mark-to-mark value of a derivative contract if they remain unpaid for a period of 90 days from the specified due date of the payment. Now, you are all aware that the banks are required to classify NPAs further into substandard, doubtful and loss assets. What are substantial assets? Assets which have remained NPA for a period less than or equal to 12 months is a substandard asset. Doubtful assets. An asset would be classified as doubtful if it has remained in the substandard category for a period of 12 months. And loss asset, if you have to define loss asset, as per RBI, loss asset is considered uncollectible and of such little value that its continuance as a bankable asset is not warranted, although there may be some salvage or recovery value. What are the factors which contribute to the NPAs? Number one, the banks lending to persons, corporations, etc., who are not creditworthy and who take high risks. So, proponents of risk is one of the reasons. The second, promoter of companies redirecting their funds elsewhere for other purposes, for purposes other than which they were raised. Third, banks trying to fund non-viable projects, and for that you need techno-economic viability studies. And fourth, deficient means to collect and distribute credit information amongst commercial banks, where creditworthiness is not totally quantified. Now, what is the effect of NPA on bank and financial institutions? Restrictions on flow of cash done by banks due to the provisions of fund made against NPAs, a great problem. Drain of profit as bank gets their income from the loans and advances that are disbursed. And if these loans are not repaid, then there is not possible for them to receive profits. Non-performing assets not only reduces the profit of the bank, but also increases the losses. Bad effect on goodwill, since profitability of the banks reduces, then automatically the banks do not remain in the position to freely lend loans. Thus, the organization's liquidity is affected, and thereby the goodwill of the company also gets affected. Bad effect of equity value and economy as a whole, as banking sector is the backbone of all the financial resources in the country. If the bank's profitability is affected, then the total economy is affected. Now, how NPA management helps banks? Although I have two of the very revered people who are masters into it, Mr. Maheshwari sits on the board of State Bank of India. Mr. Chopra himself is deemed to be a banking expert in the entire country, has been on board of several banks, and more importantly, has acted as a central statutor of the banks. But still, I would like to just conclude by saying that these regulatory bodies in India have been empowering banks by introducing ways to identify defaulters and recover loan amounts from them. SARFAESI Act 2002, Lok Adalat, debt recovery tribunals, to name a few. Banking solution providers have also initiated NP automation that can evaluate credit ratings, provide early warning signals, categorize special mention accounts, and take necessary actions like follow-up, schedule meetings, file legal case, etc. And the initiatives to tackle the NP crisis has been on a large front. It has grown disproportionately in contemporary times, but NPA is not a new problem. Over the years, there has been several reform measures undertaken by the government at various levels to bring it down. And lastly, on the concluding remarks, what are the ways to tackle NPAs? The first way is Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, with the RBI's push for the IBC, the resolution process is expected to quicken while continuing to exercise control over the quality of the assets. Number two, credit risk management, which is essential and is indispensable because this involves credit appraisal and monitoring accountability and credit by performing various analysis on profit and loss accounts. While conducting these analyses, banks should also do a sensitivity analysis and should bind safeguards against external factors. And the last way to tackle NPA is tightening credit monitoring, one of the very effective manners. A proper and effective management information system needs to be implemented to monitor the early signs or warnings. The MIS should ideally detect issues and set off timely alerts to management so that necessary actions can be taken. And more importantly, ladies and gentlemen, we as chartered accountants have this onerous responsibility to ensure that the NPAs, when it comes through our eyes, are immediately reported so that it can be effectively tackled by the banks, their audit committees and boards. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor for me to have two of my very revered friends here. So, not speaking much on these issues, I welcome them all. I welcome Mr. Deepak Bansal, Mr. Gaurav, and I thank Ridhima for giving a very scintillating moderator's role, and I hand back the dice to her. Ridhima, the dice is all yours now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing important insights on NPA management. Now, I would like to invite CA Sanjeev Maheshwari ji. And before inviting him, I would like to give a brief introduction about him. CA Sanjeev Maheshwari ji is a BCom Honours, FCA and DISA certified. He has qualified Chartered Accountancy in 1985 and was on the merit list of CA final exams. He has been appointed as non-official director of State Bank of India. He is a managing partner in a practicing CA firm and was a member of Central Council of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India for the period 2007 to 2016. He was the chairman of Accounting Standards Board of ICAI for the period 2013 to 2016. He has also been the chairman of other technical committees such as Expert Advisory Committee, Financial Reporting Review Board, Auditing Assurance Standards Board, Peer Review Board, Board of Studies, and many other committees of ICAI. He was the member of the Quality Review Board constituted by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. He has been a member on various committees of South Asian Federation of Accountants. He was the chairman of Western Indian Regional Council of ICAI for the year 2005 to 2006. Under his leadership, the Western region was awarded a record of 6 awards by ICAI, including the Best Regional Council, the Best Students Association, and many others. He has presented many papers on accounting standards and audit related subjects at various seminars of ICAI, WIRC, its branches, and study circles. Thank you so much, sir. Over to you, sir, now.
Thank you, Ridhima. Thank you very much for that introduction. A very hearty good evening to all the members here. My very, very dear friends, C.A. Nandaji, very respected council colleague and past president Amarjit Chopra ji, members of the Kurukshetra branch, Deepak Bansal ji, Gaurav ji. Thank you for inviting me for this particular program and giving me an opportunity of sharing some thoughts around the subject of NPA management. I have indeed been privileged to be as a council member and had the privilege of working with Nandaji for 9 years and Chopraji for 6 years. And I think they were very enlightening years for me as a professional, where we were collectively and collaboratively able to contribute to many of the technical areas where the CA profession was required to. And I think those experiences of working with Chopraji and Nandaji have lived with me even after my post-council era, if I may say so. Thank you for all the good wishes and the good learning that I've had, Chopraji and Nandaji, with you. And I always cherish the memories that we've had together at the institute. Friends, at the outset, a small disclaimer that I've been introduced here as the Director of State Bank of India, but my views whatever I'm sharing here are my personal views and not the views of the bank. So I think that statutory disclaimer should be there, and I would like to just place the same on record. Friends, the topic selected for today evening is a very, very interesting topic and a very relevant one for all the professionals. And there could have been no person better in the country, if I may say so, other than C. Amarjit Chopra ji to deal with this, because as all of us understand that he is not only the past president of the institute, a person very easily approachable, but very importantly, he speaks directly from his heart and does not mince his words in terms of what is right and what is wrong. And on various occasions, he has listed out that what are the kind of improvements that the profession should have, so that the overall interest of the stakeholders are better taken care of, and how the CA profession can really contribute to the economy. And on that count, I think the participants here are very fortunate to have the views coming from Chopra ji. And just Nandaji as a friend has requested, so I'm not really going to step me in between Chopra ji and you. I personally believe that CA plays a very pivotal role in the shaping of economy. In economic growth. When the businesses grow, the economy grows, we are all involved in that. So at times we have got a lot of bouquets, and at times we have got some brickbats. I think what is important is that wherever we have been found short in terms of the expectations of the stakeholders, to improve on to add to the industry. And if I look at it, I would not like to look at it only from the perspective of, as an auditor, only from the bank's perspective, but I think we are, sometimes when we are, when the initial funding is done, when we work as statutory auditors on the financials of the very, very important. Apart from the role that we play as the bank's auditors, the branch auditors, be it the internal concurrent auditors, be it the forensic auditors, and the other roles that we have now recently come up with, be it resolution professional and liquidators and so on and so forth. And my understanding or my impression of, if I look at the NPA over the last several years, is that around 2008 onwards, there was a tremendous boom in the economy, and a lot of banking growth happened between that period of 2000 to 2014, which actually probably led to easy money being available with the borrowers, and in turn, probably the money did not get deployed the way effectively it should have been deployed. And a whole series of schemes happened in terms of structuring, restructuring CDRs of various kinds, which actually pushed the recognition of NPA for a subsequent period of time. Somewhere way back in 2016, I think, if I remember correctly, under Raghuram Rajanji, the RBI governor at that point of time, he actually started this issue of cleaning up the system. And over the last 5-6 years, I think the system has been significantly cleaned and significantly improved. And today, the government has taken effective steps like IBC, which has actually ensured that the whole concept of the debtor in control actually has started moving to creditor in control. I never ever could have one ever imagined in this country that companies of the size of SR and Bhushan Steel and and many of the others, because in India, if you look back earlier, the impression was always that the judicial system would take 20, 20, 30 years for any case to get decided on, and by that time, probably the lenders would actually lose the combined trust. There is a significant change. IPC, of course, there are views that the quantum of haircut is far higher than what one would have ideally wanted. But the fact remains that the financing system has started to promote hesitant to borrow unnecessarily because of the economy. As not balance
Sajeev bhai, I suggest
Yes.
you can put off your video, then your voice will be very clear. Some networking issues. If you go on low data, then it will be fine. Please, Sajeev bhai, please carry on.
So is this better?
Yes, very much, very much, very much.
Okay. So I was just on this point that there could be two ways of looking at it on the entire state of India. One is in terms of the that accounts thereafter, even as statutory auditors or be it as consultants where we are connected with the clients, I think we need to be far more vigilant than what we have been earlier. I would suggest that things like early warning signal, which has now been introduced by the Reserve Bank of India in terms of from the banking perspective, as consultants or as chartered accountants can also see while we are conducting our statutory audit. We have to identify areas the client that should be diversion of funds or the debt equity ratio which is required. So the equity is genuine equity. Does the promoter has sufficient equity to be inducted into the company, or is that equity also truly in the nature of debt, which has actually only come by way of circumvention in form of equity? I think these are some of the points which, as consultants or as statutory auditors, we can very easily identify that the source of the money, the deployment of the money, and if you are able to address this issue, probably we'll be helping the economy by taking preventive measures rather than getting into corrective measures. And I think if we can do this, it will be a very, very important contribution which we will be able to do not only for the economy but also for our clients. Because at the end of the day, we need to educate our clients also to look at it from long-term perspective and not short-term perspective. As consultants, I'm sure most of you would be receiving requests from clients in terms of seeking additional funds or change of borrower, change of banks, so and those kind of work. And I think it is at that point itself that we need to be careful of which are in terms of working consultant in the banks and or any institutional for the institutional financing. So if you are able to take some corrective steps at that point of time, I think it will be simply great. The to the right place. The funds have not been diverted. Far too many accounts we have seen, or far too many accounts we have seen turning into an NPA because the fund not utilized for the purpose for which it were lent, and they were diverted for non-core assets, diverted towards buying land, buying non-requirement of business. If we are able to
Yes, Nidma.
Yes, so we can't hear him.
Seems to be a technical glitch.
Yes. So should we move on?
I think first we must try with Sanjeevji only. If he can continue some or the other, let him continue.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're doing the same.
Netaji, I think I had lost connection.
Yes, sir. Sanjeev, bhai, please carry on.
So it does appear that I have got some challenges on the technical side. And so I was just on this point that I think a lot of preventive measures that can be taken if we can do as professionals, it will be great. And the other thing, of course, in
Sanjeev bhai,
terms
sir.
of on the corrective mode, as auditors, we would also need to be involved. We need to be cognizant of the fact that now CARO 21 requires you to actually report on so many areas. The new concept of this bad bank, which the government is coming up with, would also actually ensure that the NPAs are likely to be more quickly resolved, and we as consultants can provide a good role on this element. I would like to conclude by requesting all the participants here to ensure that we are long-term players, we are test players and not T20 players. So when we take up assignments, be it as consultants or be as auditors, we should not be looking at a short-term gain. We should not be looking at as a T20 assignment, making some earnings out of it and moving out. Rather, it should be like a test innings where we actually support the client for a long period of time, give him the right guidance, and ensure that the account does not turn into an NPA. If we are able to do that, I think that would be a bigger victory for us as professionals. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maheshwari Saab, for a very scintillating presentation. The bad technical glitch could also not deter your spirit of giving the right knowledge to the participants. Thank you so much. Over to Ridhima.
Thank you so much, Sanjeev sir, for sharing important information and important insights, your experience. It will surely help us. Now, I would like to invite CA Amarjit Chopra sir, who is a past president of ICAI. But before inviting him, I would like to give a brief introduction about him.
I think you can leave it, Ridhima.
So let people listen, sir. Young members would have joined. She can give a brief introduction. It is customary. Go ahead, Ridhima.
Okay, sir. Thank you. So, Mr. Amarjit Chopra is a highly acclaimed chartered accountant for more than 46 years. He is a senior partner of a practicing CA firm. He was the president of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India during 2010 to 2011 and vice president the year before. He was the chairman of National Advisory Committee on Accounting Standards by the central government for 4 years till 30th September 2018. He has recently been nominated by Government of India as a member of National Financial Reporting Authority and also to a group constituted by the Government of India to make suggestions on consultation paper on auditing profession. He has been nominated by the central government on Bench 2 of Disciplinary Committee of ICAI for a period of 4 years from 2018 to 2022. He was also nominated by central government as a chairman of committee to revise Company Auditors Report Order 2016. He was also nominated by the central government on the Standing Committee for Decriminalizing the Companies Act 2013. Earlier, he was nominated as a member of Investor Education and Protection Fund Authority by Central Government of India. He was also nominated by IRDA on the Standing Committee of Accounting Issues in Insurance Companies. He chaired several important committees that dealt with auditing and accounting standards, corporate governance, and banking at the national level. He participated in board meetings of IFAC, CAPA, and SAFA at the international level. Banking, finance, and insurance sectors interested him immensely, which could be evidenced by his nomination as independent director to the Bank of Baroda and Indian Bank, members of the Securities and Exchange Board Committee on Disclosures and Accounting Standards, board member of the Insurance Regulatory Authority of India, and member audit committee of the Reserve Bank of India. He contributed significantly to the development of the auditing and accountancy discipline in India over various years. Besides chairing the other committees of ICAI, he was the chairman of Accounting Standards Board and Auditing and Assurance Standards Board of ICAI for 2 years each. He was responsible for introducing IFRS certificate course in India and Middle East. He has been a part of IFRS training programs for members of Nepal and Myanmar institutes. Also, he leads the teams for conducting IFRS training programs in Bhutan. He served the International Audit and Assurance Standards Board of IFAC as technical advisor during 2009 to 2010. He served on the IFAC Committee of Professional Accountancy Organization Development for a period of 3 years, 2010 to 2013. He was the vice chairman of the committee for the year 2013. Corporate governance and due diligence attracted his attention and was nominated to the SEBI committee to review the performance of corporates as regards governance. He was also appointed by the Government of India to investigate complex issues in relation to Xerox India Limited. He also served as a vice chairman of the high-powered committee of ICAI that examined Satyam fraud in India and investigated several other matters during his career as a professional auditor. He has been conferred honorary membership of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Australia and New Zealand, and honorary life membership of the Association of International Accountants London. A prolific speaker, he has delivered more than 2,950 lectures on various topics, including accounting and auditing standards, IFRS, banking, including financial inclusion, insurance, corporate governance, peer review both in India as well as abroad. He has been included on the roster of IMF as a resource person and has conducted missions in Mauritius, Bhutan, and Seychelles. He has contributed articles in journals and newspapers on matter of accounting, auditing, and corporate governance, and has been a part of panel discussions on these subjects on some of the TV channels. He is presently on the board of Tata Power Delhi Distribution Limited, Rico Auto Industries Limited, Rico Investment Limited, Roop Automotives Limited, and ICAI Accounting Research Foundation Limited. He was on the board of governors of Institute of Management Studies, Ghaziabad. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Ridhima, for a very, I must say, generous introduction. And thanks to Chiranjot Singh Nandaji, the chairman of the Committee on Management Accounting of the Institute. In any case, he said elder brother, so I have automatically he becomes a younger brother. I don't have to say anything beyond this. An orator par excellence, a shayer par excellence, and who can actually just see smile on your face anytime with his all witty remarks here and there. And a person who is into the 4th term in the council and has contributed significantly in the various committees that he has headed, particularly the Internal Audit Standards Board. That I can dare say that he has done a wonderful job so far as that committee is concerned or that board is concerned. And my very dear friend, Mr. Sanjeev Chaudhary, Sanjeev Maheshwari, I must say he is a professional par excellence. And I am told, because I have few connections here and there, that he is doing an excellent job so far as the State Bank of India directorship is concerned. And I'm sure that he will contribute tremendously to the working of the State Bank of India in the years to come. No doubt about his abilities. I've seen his ability in the Accounting Standard Board of the Institute. I must say that when was given this task, probably people thought that it is not his cup of tea, but I must say the way he performed, he must have outsmarted so many people who claimed to have known the accounting standards for that matter, or IFRS for that matter. So again, a brilliant professional, very hard-working guy. जितनी तारीफ करो उतनी कम है साहब की संजीव जी की there's no doubt in my mind, and Mr. Deepak Bansal, who happens to be the chairman of the Kurukshetra branch, and Kurukshetra we all know for various reasons, and I think most of the reasons being that what a battle was fought there in any case, and of course whatever Updesh Arjun got there. So I think there are many sweet memories of the Kurukshetra also. I still remember when I used to go to Kurukshetra earlier for the sake of the elections also. I still remember Mr. Surendra Kumar Gupta there and S.M. Gupta ji there. What a wonderful person he has been, and the other people, all the people there. So anyway, and Ridhima and all the participants, I think I have taken almost 5 times of the time of the topic in this. But I thought that we must know the people who are behind this particular show and who are doing a fabulous job. Of course, Surinder Pal is the secretary to this committee. The topic for the day, NPA management in banks. Sanjeev ji has already brought out his, I think his own, has given his own remarks as a keynote address speaker. To me, this is probably a problem that we have not been able to grapple with so far. When I say grapple with, I want to say which we have not been able to control it. We have not been able to come to terms with the problem of the non-performing assets. As Nandaji said, that what is a non-performing asset? Non-performing asset is one which ceases to produce you the revenue to the bank or to the financial institution or to the NBFC for that matter. Right now, we are only discussing NPAs in the banks. We are not discussing NPAs in the NBFCs. And I really shudder to think what is going to happen. And I will definitely at the end will like Sanjeev ji to interject and talk something about what can be the impact of COVID on these NPAs. You see, we are living in an economy, we are living in a society, we are living in a country where figures are very doubtful. The data is very doubtful, very frankly. And it has happened all through. It is not in the last few years or in the last 10 years or in the last 20 years. I think data has always been a subject matter of controversy. And when I was doing my BCom, at that time, one of the questions which used to appear in the examination was distrust of statistics. How the statistics can be manipulated or fudged to provide the information which suits a particular situation. Very frankly, if you ask me, the kind of banking scams which have happened in the recent past, in the last, I can say 1 decade, it is unbelievable. And if somebody thinks that it has been controlled now, I don't agree to that kind of a version. I don't agree to that kind of a situation. If we feel that today the NPAs have been controlled and NPA will not come, I don't think that's going to be the situation in any case. And I will go on explaining by the examples. You see, we have the case of ILFS, we have the case of Kingfisher, we have the case of Bhushan Steel. I think Sanjay Maheshwari ji talked of Bhushan Steel. We have the case of Marg Industries, we have the case of Jet Airlines. Jet Airlines has not been publicized. I think Jet Airlines is a much bigger fraud than Kingfisher, if you really ask me. Jet Airlines owes more than 25,000 crore rupees, whereas the Kingfisher only owed about 6,000 crore rupees to begin with. It is the interest accumulation that's a different matter. But we don't talk of Jet for reasons unknown to me, for that matter, and I think unknown to anybody for that matter. And that is what pains you, that there are two comparable cases, one of Kingfisher and the other of the Jet Airlines, whereas one case is talked about everywhere, the other case is not talked of. We have seen the Nirav Modi scandal. We have seen scandals in the form of Isar Steel. We have seen Lanco scandal for that particular matter. Deccan Chronicle. What I can keep on talking about the cases. Varun Industries is another case where the banks have lost very, very heavily. No, is it only because of that these NPAs have emerged only because of the bad performance of the bankers, bad performance of the promoters, directors, or the auditors for that matter, or the regulators? I have always believed when we talk of the corporate governance, after all, to a very large extent, we must try to look at how the NPAs emerge. It must be due to bad governance, not at one level, not only at the bank's level. Let's be very clear. It has to be bad governance at the regulators level also. It has to be bad governance at the corporate levels also, and it has to be bad governance in the auditing firms also, for that matter. Why do I say so? Because I have always believed when we talk of the corporate governance, because corporate governance is one way to increase the, you can say, wealth of the various stakeholders, maximize the value of the various stakeholders. It's not only the maximization of the wealth of the promoters or the shareholders. It is the stakeholders. The word is the stakeholders. Everyone should gain out of it. The society must gain out of it. The sustainability of the projects must sustain out of it. But what has happened in the bargain is each one failed. The promoter failed, the shareholders failed, the directors failed, the corporates failed, the regulators failed, the bankers failed, the auditors failed. And why only auditors? The rating agencies failed, if you ask me. After all, in the case of ILFS or in the case of the other companies, we all know, Wakrangi, etc. also, or other examples which one can give. The One Housing, for that matter. I think classical case where people have looted. Yes Bank itself, the way the Yes Bank looted the public money. I think these are all classical examples where these were the promoter-driven frauds. These were not anyone else's driven. But promoter-driven fraud not coming to the knowledge of the auditors, not coming to the knowledge of the directors, not coming to the knowledge of the, you can say, the regulators. I'm actually shocked at that particular, by this particular situation. Why I say so? Because when I talk of promoters diverted the money. I think this is what Sanjeev ji was trying to say, that money was easily available. I think after 2008 in particular, there was a particular period in which the money was easily available and the banks kept on lending. But we must also appreciate one particular fact, that at that particular point of time, the employment was also taking place. Nobody can deny that particular part. The projects were happening. At least we could see the projects taking the shape. But yes, the projects were totally overvalued. That's the problem. But who overvalued the projects? The promoters or the valuers also helped them, or the professionals also helped them. I think each one of us was responsible for this. It is not one segment which is responsible for this. People have gone outside India, purchased the coal mines, and the coal mine, which was nothing worse, nothing more than the dust basically, or dirt, these have been purchased as if these were gold. And I think that is where we have failed altogether. These valuations, the way the valuations were taken, I think this is mind-blowing that how all those things have happened. When I talk of the role of the directors, look at the ILFS position. ILFS was considered to be one of the best possible organizations in this country. No denying that particular fact. whenever I used to go to their office building, I've never seen a better building than that of ILFS. And I always used to feel, जो यहाँ पे काम करते होंगे कितनी उनकी यार बढ़िया जिंदगी होगी बेसिकली. आप ऊपर जाके खड़े हो जाओ और नीचे की तरफ देखो तो लगता है किस बिल्डिंग में आ गए यार. It was actually and one used to feel कि यार मुझे भी यहाँ पे होना चाहिए काम करने के लिए. And look at the way their directors have functioned, their staff has functioned. Look at their company like IFIN, for that matter, which was their own subsidiary. What was happening? ILFS will go give a loan to a particular company. As and when that loan will be due, the promoter will come and say, I don't have the money. They will tell them that you go to IFIN, our subsidiary. And IFIN will give them the loan, and that loan of ILFS will be repaid. Do you think that it was happening without the knowledge of the top management of both IFIN as well as the ILFS? The answer is no. Was it happening without the knowledge of the auditors? One of the big four for that particular matter? My answer is no. It couldn't have happened without their knowledge also. And I think in a number, you can go on explaining these cases so far as the ILFS is concerned. The best of the boards in terms of the luminaries basically in the profession, in the market, we had the best of the brains in the risk management committee. But what happened in the risk management committee, and that is why I say the directors failed the various companies. And when the directors fail the companies, the repercussion is on the banks also. What was happening in the case of this risk management committee? For 3 years, a committee which was headed by the best of the brains, for 3 years, no risk management committee meeting took place. And do we want to say the auditors were not examining the minute books of these committees? Do we want to say that the management was not aware of it? And if at all these committee meetings were not happening, the minutes of the committee have to be put up before the main board. When did the board actually look at it that the risk management committee is not happening for the last 3 years? I think it has been a collective failure of everybody. I must say it's a collective failure of everybody. It is not, you can say, failure of one part of the corporate governance. After all, the RBI nominees were there, the LIC nominees were there. All these nominees have been there. Look at the plight of IDBI for that matter. Look at one stage their level of NPS in the IDBI. I will come to many other things very soon to you. What I am trying to say is, somewhere or the other, all these pillars of corporate governance on which we stand, whether the promoters, shareholders, directors, including independent directors. And I will definitely like Sanjeev ji to comment upon the role of the independent directors both in the banks as well as in the corporate world later on. Because when I talk of the independent directors, particularly the retired bureaucrats, the retired bankers, and I will not exclude even the chartered accountants for that particular matter, on the various boards. When you are getting certain amounts by way of commission also, because when you are only getting a sitting fee, it's a different matter. But the moment you start getting fee by way of a commission also, you become a part of the profitability also. And the retired bureaucrats getting commissions in the corporates to the extent of crores of rupees. I know some of the retired bankers, I know some of the retired bureaucrats whose lifetime return, I can say, in their lifetime they may not have done this much as they have earned in 2 years or 3 years of the independent directorship of certain boards. What kind of things we are talking of? One particular chairperson of a particular bank enters into an agreement with a particular group for a joint floating of the payment bank, retires from the bank, and after 1 year of cooling, which is given by the government, joins the board of that particular corporate. What kind of governance we are talking of? I think the government will do well, if at all you want to control these kind of situations, to debar these people to enter the boards. And if they don't do it, I think these kind of practices will continue, because that lady, when she has joined, when that chairperson has joined that particular board of the company, her yearly income from that company is not going to be less than few crores. Forget about lakhs. And if that is going to be the case, I think there is always a temptation. And who doesn't know what has happened in ICICI Bank? Who doesn't know about it? Mrs. Kochhar herself, and I think this is in the public domain. I'm not talking of myself. You grant a loan to a particular company on one day, and on the other day, a particular check enters your husband's account. And your brother-in-law is a consultant to all the companies in which the loans have been sanctioned. And he has been drawing a hefty consultation fee in Singapore and the other jurisdictions. I think the reasons are not far to be seen so far as the NPA levels are concerned, basically in the banking industry. Bankers, promoters, shareholders, directors, regulators. And how can RBI say that we couldn't find out what was happening? I can dare say, but for Mr. Raghuram Rajan, no other earlier governor had the guts to conduct the asset quality review. It was only Mr. Raghuram Rajan who could bell the cat and got the asset quality review conducted. And what was the purpose of getting the asset quality review conducted? The purpose was only one. How is it that one bank is classifying a particular account as NPA and the other bank is classifying it as absolutely very, very well performing? What was happening that a particular corporate will keep one bank in good humor, will keep on parking all the funds at one place and will keep on just ignoring the other bankers. When he got the asset quality review conducted, it came to knowledge that a particular corporate will go to one bank for a short-term loan, maybe of 50 crores, maybe 100 crores, maybe 150 crores, maybe 200 crore rupees. And the moment this particular loan is due, he will go to some other bank, will take a short-term loan and repay this particular loan. जिसको हम बोलते हैं टोपी घुमाना, टोपी कई देर तक घूमती रही. It was only after Mr. Raghuram Rajan actually came to this particular conclusion, no, this is not done. And he then authorized, rather he empowered his inspectors that you can seek information from all the banks and then look at it collectively whether a particular account is performing or non-performing. Otherwise, accounts like Bhushan Steel, accounts like you can say this one Isar Steel, etc., could never have been classified as a non-performing account. I am absolutely clear so far as this particular part is concerned. These accounts were ultimately classified as non-performing only based upon the asset quality review. The only fault that I find with the asset quality review was when he got this asset quality review conducted, at that time the economy was not going up, the economy was going down. And when you get this kind of asset quality review conducted, when the economy is going down, the economy suffers further, the banks suffer more basically in that particular process. And this is what has happened, very frankly. But I must say, I say kudos to Mr. Raghuram Rajan. At least he had the courage of conviction to get the asset quality review so that one particular party, one particular corporate accounts in all over the banks could have been interlinked, could be linked. Otherwise, there was no way that it could have been detected that what is doing what. What particular corporate is doing in bank A and what he is doing in bank B, or what he is doing in bank C, or what he is doing in bank D. I think there are many reasons why these NPAs have gone up. I think Sanjeev ji said some of the reasons. But before I go there, I will only like to give you some of the statistics. In last 3 years, rather just more than 2 years, 3 years, the banks have written off in 2018-2019 2.3 lakh crores. In 2019-20, the banks have written off 2.34 lakh crores. And in 2020, up to December only, that's a period of 9 months, from 1st March to 31st of December 2020, the banks have written off 1.15 lakh crores. Despite this, the NPA level of the banks is about 7 lakh crores. If this was not written off, my worry is, because in last 8 years the banks have written off 6.32 lakh crores, but in the last 4 years itself, the banks have written off more than almost 6 lakh crore rupees. So you add to 7 lakh crore plus 6 lakh, it works out to 13 lakh crore rupees. And in a total advance size in the banking industry of 100 lakh crores, if 13 lakh crore is the NPA level, and this is despite the fact, and here also I would like to have introduction of Sanjeev ji at a later time, we have worth about 11 lakh crore rupees of agricultural loans, जिसके बारे में हम बात ही नहीं करते. We don't even talk about that. And in all these agricultural loans, what is the position? That on the last day of the year, one entry is passed, cash received, cash paid. Nothing else. No other entry is passed. All these accounts are non-performing. All these accounts are non-performing. And if I add up this 11 to this 13, it works out to, even if I say 50% of it is NPA, it works out to 18.5 lakh crores virtually. And forget about this. There are still undetected, because RBI has been after the banks that NPAs have to be classified, the accounts have to be classified as NPAs by the system. But the system has not been detecting has not been identifying the NPAs. Let's be very clear about it. Every bank has been claiming, the best of the bank has been claiming that, the private sector banks have been claiming that our systems are identifying the NPA. It's absolutely a myth. Absolutely a myth. Now the Reserve Bank of India has said that if you don't do it by 30th June, we are going to levy very heavy penalties on you. And probably they may make some of the management people responsible for it. Why I say so? We all presume that the banks have invested very heavily on the systems. And these systems are supposed to identify the accounts as NPAs. Why it does not happen? Because there is still manual intervention. People keep on manually intervening in so far as the classification of NPAs is concerned. People still people don't feed the data correctly. I'm just grappling with one idea, that if proper figures of DP were fed in, what would have been the level of NPA? हम सबको पता है, Ridhima, I don't know whether you do the bank audits or not. The creditors are not reduced from our biggest bank does not reduce the creditors from the stocks value. Whereas our sanction letter says this is against the paid stock. And if the creditors are not reduced, where is it against the paid stocks? It is not against the paid stock. And believe me, in a very, very large number of cases, the DP does not work out. And particularly, I will say, if I really go to their balance sheets and then start comparing the information given in the balance sheet and information submitted to the banks, the figures don't tell you at all. In all balance sheets, the stock figures are lesser than what has been given. The debtors' figures are lesser than what have been given by way of the quarterly information or monthly information. Whereas in all balance sheets, the trade payable figures are much, much higher compared to what has been given in the statements by the borrowers, either on a monthly basis or on a quarterly basis. And this is what has prompted us, when we were revising CARO, knowing the revised CARO, that is the company's auditor report order, we have very clearly come out with a requirement that, of course, in revised schedule 3, first the management will make an assertion and then the auditor will have to verify this, that wherever the working capital limits are beyond 5 crores, whether the information submitted by the parties to the banks tallies with the books of account or not. हमें ये करने की जरूरत क्यों पड़ी? Because the kind of NPAs, the kind of frauds which have taken place, because the people were filing the stock statements, people were filing the debtor statement, people were filing the creditor statement from here. कोई figure किसी चीज के साथ मिलती नहीं है. I have a case which came before the disciplinary committee. The chartered accountant has certified a figure of book debts at 295 crores as on 31st December. Say it was 2015. Opening value of the book debt is only 55 crores. Total sales from 1st April 2015 to 31st March 16 is only 205 crores. If you can be with me on figures, I will again repeat. Opening book debts 55 crores. Total sales during the year 205 crores. But book debts certified as on 31st December, that's for a period of 9 months, at the end of the 9th month are 295 crores. Even if I presume that not a single penny has been received either out of the opening value of the book debts or the sales made during the year, even on 1st April 2016, the total debts could not have been more than 260 crores. And on 31st December, if I had to presume that the sales affected for the 9 months was 160 crores, the figure could not have been more than 215 crores. But I certify a figure of how much? 295 crores. This is the kind of data which has been submitted to the banks. And of course, the banks have failed in monitoring the entire accounts. Why did the NPAs arise? I think let's get back to this. But before that, I have a very pertinent warning to be given. And this is not coming from me. This is coming from Mr. Shaktikant Das, the Governor of Reserve Bank of India, the Honorable Governor of the Reserve Bank of India. He says that if whatever was rescheduled or whatever was restructured in the first phase of COVID, whatever accounts were restructured in the first phase of COVID, if 1/20th of those accounts, are restructured, total NPA level will go to 12 lakh crores. I'm not including agriculture. I'm not including the DISCOM loans. I will come to that also little later. And he says that if 1/5 of the restructured loans in the first phase go bad, in that particular case, the total amount of the NPAs in the banking industry could touch 20 lakh crores. Can we think of a figure of 20% level of NPAs in the banking industry? Whereas ideally it should be about 2 to 4%, not more than that. And if we had the banks, I don't want to name those banks, which had an NPA level of 18% to 24%. Of course, now the government has decided to merge the various banks. That's a different matter. But the fact of the matter is that some of the banks had an NPA level of more than 18%. And in one of the banks it was 22% or 23%, whatever might be the NPA level. कि जितना आपने पैसा दिया उसका 1/5 पैसा नहीं आ रहा. What kind of a loaning is it? The NPAs have arisen because of the poor appraisal of the accounts, poor appraisal of the projects. And the poor appraisal, when I talk of, one is that after 2008 in particular, lot many infrastructure projects were sanctioned. These were monorail projects also, these were power projects also, these were, you can say the bridges projects also. All kind of projects have been sanctioned for the infrastructure projects. The unfortunate part has been that we used to have the developmental financial institutions in this country. Developmental financial institutions in the nature of ICICI, IDBI, and IFCI. These developmental financial institutions had the wherewithal, had the expertise to deal with the long-term projects. But if you ask me in the banks, the commercial banks were always meant for very small term loans, were always meant for sanctioning loans for about, even in the case of term loans, from 5 years to 7 years or maximum 10 years. Whereas in all these projects which we are saying, take the case of Noida Toll Bridge. When I talk of infrastructure projects, take the case of toll bridges. Now, toll bridges are able to repay the loans over a period of 20 to 30 years. If you are giving a loan to DIAL, that is the Delhi International Airport, basically limited, it will be repaying a loan over a period of 20, 30 years. And if someone is going to repay a loan over a period of 20, 30 years, you are not even aware what is going to be the rate of interest beyond a period of 20 to 30 years. Developmental financial institutions were geared up for it. Commercial banks were never geared up for it. And unfortunately, even today they are not geared up for it. But they continue to sanction the infrastructure loans because the developmental financial institutions have been killed. And instead of developmental financial institutions, they have been converted into banks, and we have seen what happened to IDBI. Whatever people may say of ICICI, I can tell you what we have seen happening in few of the cases, whether it was Videocon or other cases, and whatever has happened to Mrs. Chandra Kochhar for that matter, we have now known that private sector banks were no better than the public sector banks. Even today, they are no better than the public sector banks. One may keep on claiming anything, that's a different matter. But if somebody says that the private sector banks were doing better, no. After all, if Hisar Steel has to borrow from SBI, they are borrowing from ICICI also, they were borrowing from IDBI also, they were borrowing from Axis Bank also. How can they say that they were good in IDBI, but they were not good in State Bank of India? No, it can't happen. An account which is bad everywhere. It cannot be good at one place and bad at the other places. It has been absolutely poor appraisal. People have been giving projections left and right. And the banks have been accepting those projections left and right. Why? I don't want to get into the reasons. I'm not talking of everybody, but I think we know what kind of funding has taken place and what basis the funding has taken place in the past few years. And if it has stopped this presently, I don't agree with that. The scale might have been reduced, but if somebody says that it has reduced, I don't agree. Otherwise, it would not happen. And there also, I would like to have a comment from Sanjeev ji at a later time, that under IBC, a particular company owed to the banking industry 12,000 crore rupees, has been picked up at 4,000 crore rupees. 8,000 crore rupees haircut has been taken by the banks. Please listen to me very carefully. Out of this 4,000 crore rupees, promoter brings in only 1,000 crore rupees. Rest 3,000 crore rupees has been given by the same banks or the other banks. And what is the collateral security? The shares of the same company. What kind of a system? And it has happened now. It has not happened in the past. It has happened now, and that is what bothers me. Having suffered a cut of 75%, the same banks finance to the extent of another 75% of the purchase price of this company and accept as collateral security the shares of this company. Beautiful. Beautiful. What else we can expect? You are benefiting, you are enriching some promoter, you are enriching some buyer at the cost of the entire banking industry. I personally feel, that's my feeling very strongly, if this 3,000 crore would have been given to the original promoter at the right point of time, probably this industry could have been saved at that particular point of time. And probably this haircut would not have been required. So when I talk of poor appraisal, we keep on accepting any kind of projection. And of course, chartered accountants are responsible for creating projections. I'm not denying that particular fact. I have come across some of the cases where the sales have been declining over a period of 3 years. And when it comes for the renewal, I project in the next 1 year it will double. How it will double? Last 3 years it has been declining. And sales have become 1/3, and next year I will say it will double. Not possible. And the bankers have been accepting these projections. It has been absolutely poor appraisal. Poor appraisal, particularly when it comes to SBLCs, standby letters of credit, particularly when it comes to the non-fund, because non-fund we think is nothing. Non-fund is a very, very important commitment that we make. After all, if we commit for the LCs, LC is a commitment. It becomes, today it is non-fund based, tomorrow it becomes fund based. I have seen, and I believe me, एक पार्टी है उसकी 10 में से 8 हेल्सेज डिवॉल्व हुई हैं, उसके बाद मैंने उसकी लिमिट्स रिन्यू भी कर दी और एनहांस भी कर दी. कैसे कर दी मुझे पता नहीं बैंकिंग इंडस्ट्री में, और ये भी बहुत पुरानी बातें नहीं मैं कर रहा हूं. नॉट टॉकिंग वेरी ओल्ड. So what I am trying to say is that it has been absolutely poor appraisal for reasons unknown, for reasons best known only to the bankers or to the powers that may be, basically, or the promoters as powerful as they are, basically. Then poor monitoring, and before that even poor monitoring. You disburse the loans without the satisfaction of the entire conditions. वो कंडीशन कोई सेटिस्फाई नहीं कर रहा, उसने कोलेट्रल क्रिएट करनी है, उसने कोलेट्रल क्रिएट नहीं की, उसने बाकी बैंक से आपको नो ऑब्जेक्शन लाके देनी है, उसने नो ऑब्जेक्शन अभी लाके नहीं दिया बाकी बैंक से, मैंने उसको डिसबर्सल पूरी कर दी, उसके बाद तो मैं उसकी मर्जी पे हूं ना. मैं कहता हूं पूरी डिसबर्सल ना की हो, 1/5 हाफ कर दियो, 1/5 कर दियो. अगर मैंने सपोज कीजिए मैंने उसको लोन सैंक्शन किया 100 करोड़ का, 20 करोड़ उसको पहले दे दिया, उसको कहा बाकी तुम बाद में ले लेना, पर 20 करोड़ जो मैंने पहले दे दिया और उसकी अभी कलेक्ट्रल मैंने क्रिएट नहीं करवाई, तो हु इज रनिंग आफ्टर दी बारोवर? मी. ही इज नॉट रनिंग आफ्टर मी, आई एम रनिंग आफ्टर हिम कि भाई करवा ले, नहीं तो मेरी नौकरी चली जाएगी. And it has happened in not one case, particularly where the accounts have been restructured. It is happening today, and it is happening galore today, if you ask me. That you are into a situation, you have restructured account and you have told the promoter that you have to bring whatever sacrifice the bank is making, a part of that sacrifice you have to bring as capital. He has not brought in his money and you are not downgrading that particular account. Even when the period is, you say no, he will bring the money after 2 months, after 1 month, after 3 months, and you keep on giving him the time. That's not done. I think you downgrade a particular account and after that, if he brings in the money, upgrade the account. Who stops you to do that? That is why I say these NPA figures are not reliable. Whatever NPA figures are being given to us are not reliable. Particularly in view of the agricultural loans, in view of the DISCOM loans, these figures are totally unreliable. Almost 6 lakh crores is with the DISCOMs. Find out what is their recoverability. Are we able to recover them in time? Or shall we be able to recover, or shall we keep on restructuring, or shall we keep on giving them the more time? I think only the time will tell. But my viewpoint is, somewhere or the other, whether it has been poor sanctioning, poor appraisal, or it has been poor disbursal, rather without satisfaction of all the conditions, or poor monitoring. Monitoring is totally non-existent. और उसमें मैं मैनेजर का कसूर नहीं बता रहा हूं. Managers are overburdened in the sense that you keep on telling them so much is your target for advance, so much is your target for deposit. He is not bothered about the existing client. He is only bothered to retain that particular client, number one, so that his advance doesn't go down, so that his deposit does not go down under any circumstances. He is unable to find out. I can give you any number of balance sheets. I can give you any number of stock returns. I can give you any number of debtor statements, which he has not even looked at. The poor manager is not even able to have a look at those statements of accounts, statements of the debtors or statement of stocks. He is unable to have a look at it. There are balance sheets where there is a sufficient cash in hand being shown, or cash at bank. Then why do you need cash credit? Why do you need cash credit? Because that cash never existed. That's the problem. At the time of demonetization, some of the companies have said that on the 8th of November 2016, we had this much of cash. If you have this much of cash and you are running a cash credit limit, why did you keep that cash in your premises? Has anybody questioned them? But you can find out how many companies, how many partnership firms have deposited cash and what is the quantum of that cash. Any company might be showing a cash in hand of 50 lakh rupees, 1 crore rupees, 2 crore rupees as on that particular date. But 5 days before or 10 days before, if they were to make a payment of 50,000 rupees, they were going to bank and withdrawing the amount to make that payment. वो कैश था या नहीं था 50 लाख का? और अगर था तो फिर 50,000 के लिए बैंक में जाने की जरूरत नहीं थी कि आप कैश विड्रॉ करना आपने. कहीं ना कहीं कुछ ना कुछ तो है. Stock statements. The other person gives a stock statement similarly, simply saying this is the name of the item and this is the quantity and this is the value. He does not give opening stock. He does not give the purchases. He does not give the consumption. He does not give the rate. He simply gives you the item. He simply gives you the quantity. He simply gives you the total value. How do you monitor that? Any number of balance sheets, mark my words today, any number of balance sheets, any number of profit and loss accounts, the figures which have been filed with the banks are absolutely contrary to the figures which were submitted in the returns. और कुछ केसेस तो ऐसे हैं जहां पे जो आरओसी को फाइल हुई है बैलेंस शीट वही डिफरेंट है देन व्हाट द बैलेंस शीट हैज बीन गिवन टू द बैंक्स. बैंक वाले को कभी कभार अब तो आरओसी एमसीए 21 से तो बेटर साइट कोई नहीं है. कुछ कंपनीज के केस में तो कम से कम कोई बैलेंस शीट डाउनलोड करके देख लेनी चाहिए कि हमें कौन सी बैलेंस शीट दी थी और वहां पे कौन सी बैलेंस शीट है. कंपनी के केस में तो, पार्टनरशिप फर्म के केस में नहीं मिलेगी, कम से कम कंपनी के केस में तो मिलेगी. मजेदारी की बात ये, यू आर टेकिंग द टैक्स ऑडिट रिपोर्ट. आई विल टॉक ऑफ सम पार्टनरशिप फर्म्स. Sanjeev ji, this is very interesting. This is something that we have come across number of times. Rice shellers, particularly, I'm talking of. What they are doing? The material which comes for the shelling, even they are showing as their stocks in the statements. Shelling stock is not their stock. Their stock is only what they purchase. And I am unable to correlate their purchases with the total stocks. Forget about anything else. Forget even this. What is happening? Look at the various balance sheets and their tax audit reports. In the balance sheet, what they have done is trade payables have been shifted from trade payables to unsecured loans. If this has been done, in the tax audit report also it should appear if they have accepted anything by way of anything other than by way of an account pay check. Your tax audit report says that there are no loans taken, no loans given, no loans repaid. Whereas here your unsecured loans increase by crores of rupees, every rice sheller. And what has happened in the bargain? All rice shellers in Punjab, all rice shellers in Karnal belt gone bad. And every rice sheller has done the same thing. And probably there could be one auditor doing this. There are rice shellers in this particular belt where there's just one auditor doing all these practices. And the bankers don't take care of. When the branch auditor comments on it, he is under pressure that no, don't indicate this. And when even if he issues the MOC, some other one ignores this MOC. I don't know. But this has happened even in the recent past. And major loans, mark my words. So what NPAs are being shown are still not good enough. I think we will still jump up in the times to come. Who believed that Videocon could have become an NPA? No one could have believed it. Where is Videocon today? Nowhere. And we all know what has happened to Videocon. There will be similar cases coming up in the other sectors also. You can be sure about it. So it is not only poor monitoring. Another thing which has contributed, and Sanjeev ji, I will like to share with you, because I have always been objecting as when I used to sit on the board. Every time some MD or the other one will bring a proposal that waive the personal guarantee of this particular promoter. They waive the personal guarantee of the promoter, you are leaving him, absolutely, you are giving him a freedom to commit hereafter. Why should you waive the personal guarantee of a borrower? And the general argument will be, other banks have done it, so we need to fall in line. And today, all those cases have gone bad, wherever you waive the personal guarantees. Because the promoters are very sensitive about personal guarantees. I still remember when Kingfisher was to be rescheduled, Kingfisher, Mr. Malya was saying, no, I will not give the personal guarantee, come but me. One of the secretaries told him that if you can't give a personal guarantee, there's no way that you are going to get the loan. Your account will be restructured. He then immediately agreed to give the personal guarantee. It is, you have to build the pressure on the promoter. Promoter will always try to wriggle out of the situation, there is no doubt about it. Unfortunately, the bankers have waived the personal guarantees. Why they have waived? I have no comment to make. But the fact of the matter, it could be under political pressure, it could be under industry pressure, it could be under peer pressure, anything. But the personal guarantees in all major loans have been waived. And wherever the personal guarantees have been waived, I don't want to name those groups have gone bad. We have not analyzed the balance sheets. When I talk of monitoring, some of the cases, capital work in progress has been there for ages. If the capital work in progress has been there for ages, it means the project has been delayed. And delayed beyond one's comprehension. And what has been happening in the bargain, that administrative overheads, the borrowing cost has been capitalized to all these assets. What has happened to Bhushan Steel? I can name that because you please look at their balance sheet. 45% or 50% of the value of the property, plant and equipment has the element of the capitalized over administrative overheads or the finance costs. So where is the collateral value? Where is the correct value of the collaterals? If you have been capitalizing something which is absolutely fictitious in nature, you will not get that value in the market. And that is why the banks had to take a haircut, substantial haircut. First case which was decided, Mr. Sanjeev ji was saying, IBC is a very good proposal. IBC has been a game changer. Yes, to my mind, it is a game changer, but game changer in the negative sense today, if you believe me. The bankers were not accepting those kind of haircuts earlier. Today, any proposal is getting a haircut of 70%. Any proposal. IRPs, RPs, bankers, and some of the other people I don't want to name, they have all colluded. And some of the bankers have colluded. Now, no banker wants to have one-time settlement, even if the one-time settlement can be higher. He says that if I take a haircut of 45% as in the one-time settlement, I am questionable somewhere else. But if I take it to the NCLT, gives me a haircut of even 70%, nobody is going to question me because the court says, and this is what is happening in the banking industry today under IBC. I think NPA management, this is no NPA management. IBC route is no NPA management if you ask me. You may say it is quick recovery, but quick recovery of what? You are losing 70% on an average. First case which was decided in Hyderabad by NCLT had a haircut of 94%. What did the bank get once you get a haircut of 94%? 10%. For 6% you want to settle a particular account. इतना तो आप कभी भी उसे कहते हैं one time settlement में आके दे दे यार. वो शायद 15%, 20% ही दे देता. I think somewhere or the other we have lost the track. NPA management would mean when we very honestly pursue the recovery, and if yes, it is irrecoverable, in that case we go to through the IBC route. But today we are trying to take every case through the IBC route, and valuers are colluding, the RPs are colluding, the bankers are colluding, everyone is colluding. I'm making an allegation. I know it is, I'm on the media, but that's a factual position. If the bankers are getting a haircut of 70% on an average, it pains because I'm the taxpayer of this country. For the recapitalization of the banks, the money has to go from the exchequer, not from anyone else. The things have really worsened under IBC. These have not improved. And what has happened? RPs have become richer. There are certain firms who are actually getting lakhs and lakhs of rupees, whereas the company is not getting anything. The bankers are not getting anything. Monthly fee of 5 lakh rupees, 7.5 lakh rupees, 8 lakh rupees to manage a particular company, and the bank is not getting anything. यार वही 8 लाख रुपए आप बैंकर को ही दिलवाना शुरू कर दो ना यार. I may sound to be very harsh, but that's the factual position to be in. What has happened in the bargain? Falsified statements submitted by the borrowers. I have already talked about it. Discounting of accommodation bills. The bankers have not been able to identify the accommodation bills. ट्रांसपोर्टर की रिसीट नहीं है, कहीं पे गेट पास की नंबर नहीं है, कहीं पे वेट मेंशन नहीं है. एकोमोडेशन बिल हमने डिस्काउंट कर दिए. एक ही ट्रांसपोर्टर के बिल एक कंपनी के एक से शुरू होते हैं 100 तक वही चलते रहते हैं. कंपनी का अगर बिल इनवॉइस एक नंबर है तो उसका ट्रांसपोर्टर का भी एक नंबर है, उसका 2 नंबर है तो उसका भी 2 नंबर है. दिस इज हैपनिंग. And this has happened. It may not be happening today, but it has happened. Believe me. Excessive valuations. What one can talk of excessive valuations? You talk of machinery, you talk of land and building, you talk of anything, and particularly the valuation of intangibles against which the loans have been given. When I talk of all those intangibles, particularly the brand valuations, we have given loans against the brand valuations. And the way the brands have been valued by the bigger firms, I think there is nothing worse than this. Today, we are all talking of Amazon, we are talking of Ola, we are talking of Uber, we are talking of so many other things. And we are talking of the valuations of all these companies. All these companies are running into huge losses. Huge losses. And we are giving them the loans based upon their brand valuations. And why? What is going to happen? And what we say, and when it is valued, we say that they have got such a huge customer list. But is the customer under their control? I think that's one of the issues that one may look at it. Yes, if a customer has been repeating them for a period of 5 years, 7 years, 8 years, but if a customer has been there for just 1 year or 2 years, and if you still want to value it, I leave it to the judgment of the people concerned. And to me, one of the major reasons for the NPA, colossal build-up of the NPA has been that when the people needed the assistance at the right point of time, it was not given. There was a lot of dilly-dallying for whatever reason this might be. There could be justified reasons also. And after that, when you wanted to give him money, his requirement had gone up. And when his requirement has gone up to X plus 1, you want to give him X minus 1. So nothing can work out. And ultimately the account turns NPA. Non-rotation of duties. I think Nirav Modi case is one of the classical cases where the entire fraud has taken place because there was non-rotation of the duties of a particular gentleman. Allowing SBLCs to be discounted abroad and to bring back the money to repay our loans here. I think that's again classical case. And it has happened in virtually every case. And you will see still some heads falling on this particular ground. We allow the SBLCs here. They get the SBLCs discounted abroad. And those SBLCs discounts the proceeds of the discounted SBLCs are routed through some channel back to India to repay the existing loans. But then the SBLC has become funded at a particular point of time. It's fine. State Bank of India will issue an SBLC which will be discounted by Bank of India in abroad. So एक की problem दूसरे की हो जाएगी, कोई दिक्कत नहीं. It is happening. So I will, and if you can just interject wherever you want me to stop, please, Ridhima. If you want, I think I will finish it off within 5 to 7 minutes maximum. That's
Sure, sir. You can continue for 5 minutes.
I think failure on the part of the concurrent auditors, forensic auditors, stock auditors, ASM. The banks gave us a tremendous opportunity in the concurrent audit. We kept on craving that there is lower fee. Had we performed as concurrent auditors, we could have well gone ahead. I think the concurrent auditors were never able to identify, I will not say in all the cases, but in most of the cases, were not able to identify the NPAs at the right point of time. Rather, once the statutory auditor said that this is NPA, then he will say, no, I was saying that these are the problem areas in these particular accounts. There have been some cases before the disciplinary committee. And I know what has been the fate of those concurrent auditors. Forensic auditors. And I will like to say that it is happening today. Because I don't know, this tendering process for forensic and tendering process for ASM is going to kill the entire process. You want the person to perform by paying him a peanut. Because there are professionals of every kind. For the same assignment, somebody is quoting 1 lakh rupees and the other person is quoting 10 lakh rupees. I may not say that 10 lakh is justified, but I am also very sure that this 1 lakh is too low for him. So he will definitely look at some other avenues. I think the bankers will have to find out some ways of identifying good forensic auditors. Forensic auditors are not able, number one, and number two, the RPs are not giving them the information. They appoint them the forensic auditors, but then start telling them that they have no access to the information. And if every time the forensic auditor is to say that I have not been able to get this information and all the disclaimers, this forensic audit has no meaning. And one thing where I will like to tell Charanjot Nandaji and will request him to take up the matter with the government to the institute. You conduct a forensic audit. If you report something as a fraud, I don't know what will happen to the other gentlemen or not. But your doors are being knocked at by the CBI time and again. You are summoned by ED, you are summoned by CBI time and again. कि आइए प्लीज हमें एक्सप्लेन करिए कि आपने इसको फ्रॉड क्यों बोला. अरे मैंने कर दिया फ्रॉड यार. I have given you all the reasons. If there are no reasons given, you may find fault with me. But today, all those chartered accountants who have declared the accounts as frauds are being summoned by ED and CBI. तो मैं ये कहता हूँ यार मैं इसको फ्रॉड काहे को डिक्लेयर करूँ. मैं डिस्क्लेमर ही ना देके अपनी छुट्टी कर लूँ. I think there are many things which can be said, particularly with regard to forensic audits and the other things. ASM also, ASM is being killed. आपने एसेट मॉनिटरिंग करवानी है टू ए पर्टिकुलर सिस्टम. अब आप उसकी अगर फीस, एक पर्टिकुलर प्रोजेक्ट है 500 करोड़ का, उसकी फीस आप फिक्स करना चाहते हैं 50,000 रुपया महीना, हो ही नहीं सकता. यू वांट हिम टू बी देयर वर्चुअली एवरी डे. हाउ इज इट पॉसिबल? यहाँ 30,000 25,000 में उसकी फीस फिक्स करना चाहते हैं. एंड हिज रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी इज मच मोर देन anyone else. It's not going to happen. But because of the tendering, this must say is coming. I'm really surprised that when you appoint a lawyer, you never ask for a tender. But when you appoint an auditor, whether forensic auditor or ASM, you ask for a tender. I can't make it out. They always say that, sir, Vigilance Commission wala पूछता. अरे भाई तो विजिलेंस कमीशन वाला लॉयर्स का भी तो पूछता होगा कि इसकी कंसल्टेंसी 10 लाख क्यों दी, 1 लाख क्यों नहीं दी. उसके बारे में कोई बात नहीं करता. So this is another thing, and I must say that inflated values of the work in progress, inventories, debtors, I have already talked about it. Personal guarantees की मैंने बात कर ली. I will just end up on one note. What NPA management would mean to me. To me, NPA management would mean better appraisal, sound dispersal having complied all the terms and conditions, effective monitoring, transparent financial statements with integrity, audit with honesty, treating interest of every stakeholder rather than the promoters alone in view, sound rating system, honest valuations, and genuine efforts for recovery rather than filing before the NCLT at the drop of a hat. To me, this is what the NPA management would mean. NPA management cannot come. NPA, हमारे यहाँ तो ARCs have been the worst part, very frankly. ARCs have been as much culprits in many activities. They have purchased certain assets, being upfront for certain promoters or upfront for certain parties. And the banks and ARCs have combined together for selling the assets at that cheap price. I think we need to have a relook at the entire NPA management process. My humble submission is, if at all the NPA menace has to be fought out, number one, this practice of going to NCLT at the drop of the hat has to stop. One-time management effort has to start. Recovery efforts have to start. Just saying that it is value for money, the time value for money, I think that doesn't help. Losing 70% or 80% of the money, it doesn't help in the time value of money. I can tell you there have been cases where the people were offering 50% and ultimately have been settled for 20% or 30%. तो कहीं ना कहीं पे दिक्कत है. इसमें रेटिंग एजेंसीज का बहुत बड़ा रोल है. मैंने पहले भी बोला कि रेटिंग एजेंसीज पे अब थोड़ा सा चेक लगा है और रेगुलेटर्स का भी रोल है. एवरीवन हैज. और एक और कारण है, क्योंकि संजीव जी बैठे हैं इसलिए कहना चाह रहा हूं, ये जो मल्टीपल फाइनेंसिंग है ना इन द सेम ग्रुप, A, B, C, D आर द पार्ट ऑफ द सेम ग्रुप. ए ने परचेज किया, मैंने उसके स्टॉक्स के अगेंस्ट उसको लिमिट दे दी. ए ने बी को सेल किया, मेरी ग्रुप कंपनी है, वहां पे भी मैंने उसको लिमिट दे दी. फिर उसने बी ने सी को सेल किया, मैंने वहां पे भी लिमिट दे दी. सी ने डी को सेल किया, मैंने वहां पे भी लिमिट दे दी. वैल्यू एडिशन क्या है? ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड. अल्टीमेटली ये घूम के आता है. साइक्लिकल जो एक साइकिल चलता है, उस साइकिल के बाद बचता कुछ नहीं अल्टीमेटली. तो मेरा अपना मानना ये है कि कहीं ना कहीं हमको ये देखना पड़ेगा कि क्या हो रहा है या क्या नहीं होगा. और इन द टाइम्स टू कम. एक लास्ट में मेरा कमेंट है, कोविड के बाद, क्योंकि होटल इंडस्ट्री विच इज हॉस्पिटैलिटी इंडस्ट्री इज बैड, रेस्टोरेंट्स आर गॉन, एविएशन इंडस्ट्री इज गॉन, amusement parks are gone, tour operators are gone, certain other industries are gone. What will happen to the overall NPA level? Nobody knows today. Because in the countries like Canada or US, the government gave money to the corporate straight to meet their additional costs. अगर वहां पे उन्होंने लेबर को पे कर रहे थे तो उन्होंने कहा लेबर की 60%, 50%, 40% कॉस्ट हम आपको देते हैं, बट यू रिटेन लेबर. हमारे यहाँ पे ये नहीं हुआ. हमारे यहाँ पे डिफरेंट हुआ. हमारे यहाँ तो ये कहा कि भाई MSME को बैंक लोन दे देगा, टॉप अप कर देगा 25% से. और जब वो टॉप अप हुआ है तो उससे पूछा ही नहीं कि भाई तुम्हारी जरूरत भी है या नहीं है. सबको एक दिन में बैठ के टॉप अप कर दिया. और उसने विड्रॉ कर लिया, उसको जरूरत थी या नहीं थी. और जिसने विड्रॉ कर लिया, अब वो पैसा देगा कहां से? दिस इज अनदर थिंग टू बी सीन. आई थिंक द कमिंग डेज आर फार मोर डिफिकल्ट फ्रॉम द NPA मैनेजमेंट पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू. I'm quite sure about it. And the banks will be very, very hard pressed to control the level of NPS. RBI has done its job, allowing the restructuring one time. अभी तो दूसरी बार भी कह दिया कि कर लो, पर कितनी बार रिस्ट्रक्चरिंग होगी? और ये कहीं ना कहीं तो रिस्ट्रक्चरिंग खत्म होनी है. जब रिस्ट्रक्चरिंग खत्म होगी तो क्या होगा? और कोई जादू की छड़ी नहीं है, क्योंकि इकोनॉमी जिस तरीके से चल रही है हमें पता है, उसी तरीके से चल रही है. इकोनॉमी तो जहां पे है वहीं पे है. इकोनॉमी में कोई इंप्रूवमेंट नहीं है. अगर आज सरकार पेट्रोल और डीजल की एक्साइज ड्यूटी से पैसा इकट्ठा ना कर रही होती तो हमारी डेफिसिट फाइनेंसिंग कहाँ होती? टुडे पेट्रोल हैज टच्ड 100 rupees and diesel is touching almost 90 rupees, and it's not because of the prices of diesel and petrol, it's because of the excise duty and the other taxes which the government has collected. अगर वो नहीं होती कलेक्शन पैसे की तो सरकार के पास पैसा कहाँ से होता? Nobody knows. That's all I will like to say. But I am a born optimist. मेरा अपना मानना ये है, next 1 year is going to be difficult. After that we'll be back on our rails. And if 1 year we can survive somewhere or the other, if 1 year we can survive or the other, if the levels of NPS don't cross a particular limit, we'll be back, and back with a bang. That's all I can say. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot, Ridhima. And thanks a lot, Nanda ji. Thanks a lot, Sanjeev ji and Deepak ji.
Thank you, sir. Rightly said. So we have some questions and answers.
Yeah.
Questions. Yeah.
वो
So-
संजीव जी को बुला लीजिए, इकट्ठे मिलकर देंगे आंसर, क्योंकि वो बैंकर है, मैं बैंकर थोड़ी ना हूँ.
Sure, sir. Sanjeev ji? Yes. We have a question from the participant. The query is, can we bring some revolution, particularly with respect to bank audits?
Can we bring
Any revolution with respect to the
revolution?
bank?
What kind of revolution do you want? Revolution तो क्रांति होती है. बैंक ऑडिट में क्या क्रांति लाएंगे? बैंक ऑडिट तो हम माने या ना माने, ब्रांच ऑडिट 3-4 साल में खत्म हो जाएगा. ये नहीं रह सकता भाई. जितना सिस्टम्स पे पैसा बैंक्स ने खर्चा किया है, अल्टीमेटली वेरी फ्यू ब्रांचेस विल रिमेन अंडर ऑडिट. सो फॉर जिस दिन मैं ये गारंटी से कह सकता हूँ, एंड आई हैव बीन सेइंग इट फॉर एजेस, आई थिंक संजीव जी नोज इट वेरी वेल, मैं इसको एजेस से कह रहा हूँ, जिस दिन पब्लिक सेक्टर बैंक्स ने डॉक्यूमेंट्स की डिजिटाइजेशन कर दी, जो प्राइवेट सेक्टर बैंक्स ने की हुई, एचडीएफसी ने की हुई, आईसीआईसीआई ने की, एक्सिस बैंक ने. आज की डेट में क्या है कि पब्लिक सेक्टर बैंक्स में डॉक्यूमेंट रेफरल के लिए आपको ब्रांच में जाना पड़ता या किसी और ऑफिस में जाना पड़ता, इसलिए ब्रांच ऑडिट चल रहा. जिस दिन डिजिटाइजेशन ऑफ डॉक्यूमेंट्स हो गई, उस दिन ब्रांच ऑडिट की क्या शेप होगी मुझे पता नहीं. इसको रेवोल्यूशन कह लीजिए, कुछ भी कह लीजिए. बाकी वी आर पार्टली रिस्पॉन्सिबल द वे वी हैव हैंडल्ड द ब्रांच ऑडिट्स. हम ये कहते रहे टाइम नहीं मिलता. अरे स्मॉल ब्रांच में अगर हमें पता है कि व्हाट इज ए बैंकिंग, 3 से 4 दिन में ऑडिट हो जाता है ब्रांच के अंदर, बिकॉज द ऑडिट हैज टू बी कंडक्टेड विद रेफरेंस टू द रिटर्न्स दैट दे फाइल टू देयर रीजनल ऑफिसेज और जोनल ऑफिसेज. और उनकी कंट्रोल रिटर्न्स हैं, उन कंट्रोल रिटर्न्स के बेसिस पे मुझे ऑडिट करना, मुझे उनकी किताबों में जाके ऑडिट नहीं करना. आई मस्ट नो व्हाट इज द टेक्निक फॉर द बैंक ऑडिट. आई हैव बीन सेइंग इट फॉर एजेस अगेन. तो वो एक दिक्कत है, और हमने मेरे ख्याल में अपने आप इस अपॉर्चुनिटी को लूज किया. आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही बेटा. Ridhima, you are on mute.
We have one more question. Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So, as you mentioned that NPA management requires meticulous appraisal and honesty on part of every stakeholders, and even if 1 or 2 stakeholders are dishonest, all are affected. Then what should be the approach? Do we need to draft any regulation or establish some regulator?
आ गया है already. It is. I can tell you, the enforcement agencies and the CBI are becoming more and more active, and They are going to take care of professionals, they are going to take care of rating agencies, they are going to take care of the bankers. Everyone is going to be taken care of. And even now, अभी ये पार्था सारथी जी को किया ना, रवि पार्था सारथी है ICICI वालों को. He has been arrested only a few days back. And IFIN के जो MD थे वो तो मेरे ख्याल पिछले 1.5 साल से अंदर. तो ये तो एक फियर साइकोसिस आएगा और कहीं ना कहीं इंडिपेंडेंट डायरेक्टर्स को भी अपना रोल देखना पड़ेगा कि मुझे क्या करना है, क्योंकि इंडिपेंडेंट डायरेक्टर्स विल नॉट बी इम्यून. आपने अगर देखा हो सुरेश सेनापति जी का या किसी कुछ और इंडिपेंडेंट डायरेक्टर्स का, मैं नाम लेके बात कर रहा हूँ क्योंकि पब्लिक डोमेन में है ये, उनकी एसेट्स फ्रीज कर दी थी, उनके बैंक अकाउंट्स फ्रीज कर दिए थे. And they had to run pillar to post to get those defreezed. So, because after all they have to meet their expenses, monthly expenses. तो ये सब होने वाला, अगर आज नहीं होगा तो कल होगा. The government is also looking at it. The agencies are looking at it. ऐसा नहीं है. हाँ, certain groups will always remain above certain things. I will not like to comment on that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your in-depth knowledge. Thank you so much. Now I would like to call.
संजीव जी से मैंने एक दो चीजें कही थी, अगर इंटरजेक्ट कर सकें तो करें, नहीं तो कोई बात नहीं, ऐसा नहीं है.
Sanjeev ji, please go ahead.
You could.
Sir, I think largely, I think आपने जो बताया बातें की हैं, I think you have really touched upon what are the ground realities. ये सारे stakeholders के elements are actually, मतलब if we look at it from different stakeholders perspective, तो banking के जो perspective से जो fundamental issues रहे हैं, be it in terms of the appraisal, the sanctioning part of it, the disbursement part of it, and very importantly, the monitoring part of it. I think that there has been a scope for improvement. I believe that with the analytics being used now in banks, probably this is now in a better shape than what it used to be a few years back. So will we be able to be out of NPA? I don't think that there is an answer yes to that. But probably the banks are now better equipped to deal with this if we are able to have the right approach on some of these fundamental aspects. And the other thing that I said earlier also, that because the participants here are professional chartered accountants, I do believe that we have to play our role wherever we are involved, not only from the banking, not only from the branch auditor's perspective, but I think it is very important that as a statutory of private sector companies, we should be playing a very responsible role, because I think one of the greatest changes that you have brought across is, or responsibilities that you have now cast on people, is CARO 21, which will actually make it obligatory for everybody to report so much. That is one fundamental piece of literature which is actually, to my mind, going to really have a significant impact on the profession, and automatically there will be an, but the point is that I think, to my mind, that the profession needs to think not only from the compliance perspective of CARO, but deal with the spirit in which the entire the CARO regulations have been laid down, to ensure that the clients stop playing mischief and actually we are able to take correct action. And I would feel that, from economist perspective and even from client's perspective, I was saying earlier, that if we are able to take remedial action in the earlier stages, earlier the concept used to be that be the banking, be the industry, everybody was trying to ensure that the account is not classified as NPA. But today I think the change in thought process needs to be brought across by professionals in terms of dealing with our clients also, that push for restructuring where not viable, wherever there are non-core assets, dispose them off, related party transactions, because we have seen so many cases, sir, as you rightly said, that where the money has been siphoned off, money has been received, and then it has either got paid into fixed assets or receivables, lands have been brought, cars have been brought, monies have been diverted to the new companies for as equity. I think if there is a rationalistic approach taken by the chartered accountancy profession, sir, I think we will be able to play a important role,
very constructive role
in the entire scheme of.
I 100% agree, Sanjeev bhai. The entire banking sector is now sensitized, and it becomes the imperative role of chartered accountants now to ensure that such type of foul plays are immediately eradicated and stopped, restricted. Great.
Thank you, boss. Thank you.
Yes, Ridhima.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for your useful input. Now I would like to invite CA Gaurav Kumar.
Before inviting Gaurav, I have two of my very revered erstwhile council colleagues. So my 1 minute question to you, sir, what do you expect the profession to do in very categorically only in 3 or 4 sentences? What do you feel is the expectation and role of practicing chartered accountants in arresting the menace of NPS?
मेरा तो एक, I think Sanjeev said the same thing. Integrity
एक
of the
sec-
financial
जी.
statements. My
Okay.
one line sentence. Integrity of the financial statements and the disclosures. That's all.
Great. Sanjeev bhai?
Sir, I would reiterate what I said earlier, sir, that be a test player, don't think of T20.
Yeah.
Because if you are a test player, then you will be taking care of not only the interest of your client, but consequently your own practice will also develop, and automatically the economic benefits.
Great. Rajama ji, now the dice is all yours. Yes, sir, you were saying something. Chopra
No,
sir, you
very
were
well
saying
said.
something.
Very well said. That's what I
Yes.
said.
Yes, exceptionally exclaimed. Yes, Rajama.
Yes, sir. So I would like to call CA Gaurav Kumar Gupta, Vice and Secretary
Yeah.
of Kurukshetra
हाँ, ठीक है, चल तू.
AI. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Honorable CA Amarjit Chopra ji, Honorable Past President ICAI, CA Charanjot Singh Nanda ji, Chairman Committee on Management Accounting, Nandkishore Reddy ji, Vice Chairman Management Accounting, CA Sanjeev Maheshwari ji, Director State Bank of India, respected Chairman Deepak Bansal ji, Kurukshetra branch, and our most valued invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's my privilege to have been asked to propose a vote of thanks ICI. Extend a hearty vote of thanks for today's program. I extend my gratitude to our honorable chief guests, CA Nanda ji, CA Maheshwari ji, CA Chopra ji, CA Hegde ji, to take out time from their busy schedule and to grace this event and enlightening us with their knowledge. Today's program was full of knowledge and interesting things. Thank you for such a inspiring and encouraging deliberation on the topic. I must thank the amazing team and volunteers for working hard to make this program successful. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Over to you.
Thanks to Nandaji for actually bringing us together after a long time.
No, sir, entire thanks to you and Maheshwari ji
नहीं, संजीव
for
जी
putting
को
in perspective all those
संजीव जी
things.
को और मुझे इकट्ठा ला दिया, आज बहुत बड़ा थैंक यू आपको.
नहीं सर, आप तो हमेशा ही इकट्ठे हो सर, हम सब इकट्ठे हैं.
सर आपकी बातें सुनने के बाद ना सर हमारा ना ब्लड ना थोड़ा सा और फ्लो करता है तेजी से. भाई हमें कुछ करना है, कुछ करना है, कुछ करना है.
नहीं, बिल्कुल करना है सर, बिल्कुल करना है. I am thankful to the honorable past president for a very scintillating presentation. Thanks to Sanjeev Maheshwari ji for putting all the things at the right perspective. Thanks to Gaurav ji and Deepak Bansal ji. Thanks to Ridhima. Sir, you were saying something, Amarjit sir.
नहीं, please.
सर मैं एक बात कहना चाहूंगा चोपड़ा जी से.
जी.
सर जब भी बैंक ऑडिट का टाइम आता है ना तो सर YouTube पे हम आपके पहले तो फेस टू फेस सेमिनार अटेंड कर लिया करते थे, पर YouTube पे आप 5 सालों के सेमिनार मतलब 1 hour 2 hour 3 hours कॉन्टिन्यूसली देखते हैं, सुनते हैं, उसमें नोट करते हैं और उन चीजों को जाके वहां जब ऑडिट करते हैं तो अप्लाई करने की कोशिश करते हैं और उसके अमेजिंग रिजल्ट्स आते हैं सर हमेशा. और मतलब सर मैं एक्सप्लेन नहीं कर सकता, हमें इतना अच्छा फील होता है ऑडिट करने के बाद भी. हाँ हमने एटलीस्ट साल के 15 दिन 20 दिन सही में ऑडिट किया है. दिस ऑल इज बिकॉज ऑफ यू सर एंड योर गाइडेंस सर.
Thank you.
Great sir, great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you sir, thank you all for your kind time and your consideration. Thank you so much sir. Okay sir, we withdraw now. Good evening to all. Thanks to all viewers also. A great program indeed. We shall meet next Friday again with another topic and another speaker. Thank you so much. Bye.